What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. As always, bringing you such incredible guests from all over. My next guest came to this country when he was 7 years old. He has brought himself to a place of being a family physician for over 10 years and now is an author of an incredible children's book attacking mental health issues. Please welcome Nghi Dang. Nghi, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. I am excited to hear your story.
Thank you. Thank you, Deanna. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, before we got started, I said, my fiance came here when he was young as well, probably like around the same age as you. And, I've heard some of the stories and how it was so hard for him to get adjusted to basically a new culture, new language. So, my heart goes out to you, like what you went through. Can you like share some of the struggles that you went through as a young child that got you to where you are today?
Yeah, just like most immigrants, the biggest shift is in not just language but culture. Um, for example, I think I talked about this with someone recently. I was born in Vietnam, so in Vietnam, teachers are very well respected. You don't talk back to your teacher. Your parents actually give permission to teacher to scold you and kind of discipline you as well. So there was a big shift in culture because when we moved here, I remember my first day of school was first grade. It was like the last day of first grade. I remember not knowing anything, but during the class, I think one of the students, had a fit. He was upset about something I didn't know because I didn't understand English at that time. He went up to the front of the classroom, started knocking over all the books on the ground. And then the first thing in my head, I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Because
Yeah.
that's like unheard of in Vietnam. Like the teacher would have smacked you.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, what is going on? The teacher just like let him do it. So I mean, what I remember was I walked up there. I helped the teacher pick up all the books because I didn't know what else to do. But I think that was the biggest shocker to me because that kind of students can just have so much freedom and kind of do whatever they want without much discipline, which was a total shocker to me.
And I think it's probably a lot worse these days. I mean, my parents put me in private school, and I actually in private school, if you did something wrong, you would get spanked with the ruler. So when I was 13, I kind of went through a rebellious phase, and I did get a spanking from the teacher. So like I understand what you're saying, like having respect for your teachers. So because I was raised a little bit differently, and at that point in time, I think that our society was a little bit different, whereas now things have become so liberal that, teachers aren't really disciplining students like they should.
Yeah, it was a big shock to me.
And so now you're a family physician. You've been one for 10 years. Is that something that you always wanted to do? What made you want to get into being a family physician?
My entire family ended up going to medicine, and I'm the youngest in the family, so I kind of looked up to my siblings and just followed suit of what they were doing.
Wow, congratulations. You guys you have a very smart family. So despite the teachers you had when you got here, you rose above it, huh? That's awesome. So I see that you are very passionate about discussing or your mental health not advocate, where you're wanting to raise awareness around that. So tell me a little bit about why that is so important to you.
You know, like just like everyone knows, mental health is such a big topic, um, and under talked about, even though it's such a big issue in America these days with what's going on. What kind of set pushed me towards writing this book series was getting a call in the middle of the night from my mom. 6 months into the pandemic, she calls in the middle of the night. So it freaked me out because my mom doesn't call me in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So I pick up, I'm like, are you okay? Is that okay? Are you guys in hospital? She's like, no, no, we're fine. But your nephew committed suicide.
Oh wow.
So so I was like, I was trying to process what she said. in my mind, I was thinking he attempted suicide,
Right.
but she said, no, he's dead.
How old was
And
he?
he was 21, turning 22. I think he graduated college during the pandemic, and I think he was struggling to find a job with with everything that's going on. I guess he suffered from depression his whole life, but I guess he kind of lost his way and didn't felt like he didn't have any hope
Yeah.
to push him to that point. At that point, I realized that I didn't realize it would hit home so close to me. So
Yeah.
that's what pushed me to kind of use all my knowledge and all of what I learned through the years of what I've experienced and into this book series to help educate and kind of spread more information to the public in a more palatable way instead of so mental health is kind of hard topic to discuss. I was hoping to do it in a way where it's more palatable and easier to digest.
Yeah. No, I like the title of your book, and we're going to get into that. But um, where you come from in Vietnam, is there a lot of mental health issues there, or do you think there's more mental health issues in America?
I think in more developed countries, I think mental health is in my opinion, probably a bigger issue. With all the social media, all the kind of brainwashing from TV. I think it doesn't make things any better. You see everyone's life is in this rosy picture. Everyone has a perfect life. Everyone has a Lamborghini. Everyone has a mansion, and everyone seems so happy. Whereas, that's not the reality.
Yeah.
So sometimes, for kids growing up, they can't differentiate between, what's just fake and what's real. So, if you're struggling, you're going through a rough time, and you see, everyone else doing so well, it probably, puts you even in a worse place.
Yeah. So, as a family physician, you see probably like from all spectrums, from the parents to the children.
Hmm.
And what do you think impacts them the most when it comes to mental health?
I uh, I think it's more the lack of awareness is what I realized that from all my encounters with the kids, the parents, and even the grandparents. I have some families where I'm the doctor for their kids, the parents, and the grandparents.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of see the perspective from each generation. But
Yeah,
I think the common denominator is kind of a lack of awareness and understanding.
sure.
I
And so,
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so like in our education system, we teach reading, writing, math, science, history, art, even music, and even sex ed. But nowhere in our education, we're taught anything about mental health.
Yeah. I was going to ask
So
you that, like
yeah.
in regards to, because since teaching and being in school, and this is something I've had a conversation with the prior guest, is that I think, and it's all we talk about mindset, mindfulness, and I think a lot of that is kind of in conjunction with mental health.
Mhm.
If we were, as a younger person, being taught how to have a strong mindset around different things in our lives, we're able to cope with things a lot differently, and understand the impact of certain things, how they can affect our mental health. um what's the word I'm looking for? I think that, I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like that, I was looking for another word, but I think mental health. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've had to work on myself personally. I've gone through a lot of trauma in my life. Abusive father. My late husband passed away after being a steroid addict. I've had to really work on myself to become a better person. A lot of that started with mindset, and I could have easily fallen into depression and have mental health issues. Whereas I decided to educate myself on how to handle those kinds of thoughts and those things that are triggering different feelings and emotions in me, where I can kind of control those thoughts in my head, because really we ultimately have the power to do that. We just haven't been, most people have not been taught to do it.
Mhm. Yeah, just like I talked about before, to be perfectly honest, I think before I went to medical school, I really didn't understand mental health either. I mean, there's there's no reason I would be able to because we've never been taught. We don't talk about it in your family. Your parents don't really talk to your kids about it. You don't talk to your teachers about it. You know, and obviously you don't talk to your friends about it, for the most part. So it's something that I think most of the public probably would echo my reasoning that most of us don't really have a very good understanding of mental health. So, it's not until med school where you start learning more about mental health where it kind of makes more sense. And then, after I went to practice and seeing real patients, I think that's where it kind of clicks and all it came together.
Today's episode is brought to you by Honeylove. Ladies, let's talk about shapewear. We all know most shapewear makes you feel like you're being suffocated. That sexy dress in the back of your closet is so freaking cute, but the thought of having your inside squished by your shapewear is just not worth it. That's why Honeylove spent years researching and developing effective shapewear that's actually comfortable. Overly tight, cheap, and sticky fabrics that roll up are a thing of the past. Thanks to Honeylove, you can finally feel confident and comfortable in your favorite outfits. We have an exclusive deal for our listeners. For a limited time only, you can get Honeylove's best deal they offer. Get 20% off your entire order with the code LABELFREE20 at honeylove.com. That's right, ladies. Get 20% off of your entire order with LABELFREE20 at honeylove.com. So let's talk about your book. Do you have it handy?
Yeah, I have it right here. So it's a series of 8 books. Each book
Oh,
will address a different topic. For example, the first one is this one here.
and it's
It's it's called Adventures of Max and Friends, but this one's called The First Day of School. So basically, he starts out his first day of 6th grade, and then he runs into his bully. So it will address bullying. So that's a very common thing for kids these days.
yeah.
Dealing with bullies. I think 1 out of 5 students had been bullied in one way or another.
I've been bullied myself, so yeah.
Yeah. So then I think it'll basically talk about bullying in a more entertaining way, but then also at the root of it is to help educate the public on what to do when you're bullied, how parents can get involved and help. Um, so that was the first book, and then book two, it's called the Making a New Friend.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
So basically, the book series actually shifts from one character's perspective to another character's perspective. It's basically just to help teach empathy. Sometimes what you're thinking about a certain person is not exactly correct because you don't know what's going on in their head.
Yeah.
So the shift is actually the second book will shift into the bully's perspective,
Okay.
and you see what's going on in his head, what's going on in his life, and you kind of understand why he behaves a certain behavior.
Yeah. So
Uh,
why kids book? Because it's for like a kids book series.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. So I think for I decided to write a kids book series because I read a lot of children's book to my 2 little girls, and I think storytelling is the most powerful way to educate.
Yeah.
Instead of this is depression, this is anxiety, this is her symptoms and signs, and that's very very hard to digest.
Yeah.
So I think in storytelling, it's probably the most powerful way for people to remember certain topics and remember emotions and remember these topics as opposed to trying to write like a sterile book.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like the premise of it. And so now are all 7 books, have they all been released? Or are you still working on them?
All of them I am done with, but I'm just releasing them slowly. And then the third book I have here is based. It's called Test Day. So it's just back to the antagonist, the main character's, the protagonist's point of view, where he um, goes into his so the just the main just the story is that he starts sixth grade and his goal is to win the national spelling bee.
Okay.
So then and then along the way, he deals with certain problems. He makes new friends, and their friends deal with certain problems. So the third book, he actually goes into takes his test and basically just helps the reader kind of deal with the process of kind of coping with not achieving your goals and
Yeah.
what the steps to do to move forward.
Yeah, I love it. I think that the more that we can educate our younger generations around mental health and however that looks like for them, with a children's book, I think that it would equips them more as they get older to understand some of these things that they go through to prevent or to protect their mental health long term. So I think it's great. Where can people find your books, connect with you, and support you and learn more?
Yeah, you can visit me at www.theadventuresofmaxandfriends.org, or you can Google the Adventures of Max and Friends, and my link should come up. Yeah, so you can connect to me on the website. It will have all the dates of the when the books are released, and then
Yeah.
you can purchase the books through the link as well. So hopefully it will provide a lot of good information and entertainment to kids. Hopefully start a dialogue between the parents and kids, and even hopefully helping them, start a dialogue between kids and their friends.
Yeah.
This is definitely not something I talked about growing up with my friends, and hopefully, this is something to give them some opportunity to talk about with their friends and speak more openly. Um, Basically trying to erase this stigma about mental health because everyone's so scared to talk about it. No one wants to admit they have it. So hopefully, if they get to start talking amongst themselves about these topics, and it'll make it more of a norm as opposed to a something that's abnormal.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that the more that we can educate and have those conversations, the better we all are in the long run. So, congratulations on creating such a great book series to help with that. You guys, I'm gonna put that link in the show notes. So if you or anyone you know is interested in purchasing one of these books for their kids, for your kids, for someone else's kids, don't hesitate to go click that link and support Nghi with his series because he's obviously doing great work and wants to educate our children in a way that's going to set them up for success long term with mental health. Nghi, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
I I think the takeaway message from my experience in writing this book is don't be afraid to ask questions. It's okay not to have all the answers. And I feel sometimes that people kind of shy away when they feel like they don't have all the answers, and kind of easier to sweep things under the rug. But there's lots of resources out there. Don't hesitate to find help, find a mental health specialist. Don't wait until everything's falling apart before you try to get help.
Yeah, for real. Well, that was great words of advice. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Congratulations on all your success. And thank you for creating this series to help support our youth because I think it's definitely needed. The more that we give them the resources to set them up for a better life, a better quality life,
Yeah,
the better we all will be in the long run. So thank you for all that you do.
you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Well, you'll have to keep us posted on how things go, and once the series is completely out, we'll have to update the audience and let them know that they can go buy all 7 books. All right, you guys, this is your host Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcasts. Live your best life. You must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things, and I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.